that we are able to even meet here and actually focus on the areas that we have covered so far and even reevaluate ourselves in terms of the future. And the presentation I made, which His Excellency Prime CS mentioned this morning, was actually to actually show where is the economy as we see it now, how do we see it as we go into the budget preparations for 2024-2025, where do we see it? And that is very, very important for us. Of course, you know there are drying constraints, and how are we resolving their drying constraints? So that is very, very important. But the first point that is coming up, and even the rains are also coming too, is actually to show that actually there's strong evidence to show that economic recovery is with us. And that starts from the last quarter of 2023. And I did actually try to mention in area meetings that we have a growth of 5.6% in that quarter. It means that it averages the growth in the whole of 2023 to about 5.5 to 5.6. That is for a strong growth. If you look at the average in Africa, the world average is actually coming to 3.1%. That is a very, very important dimension in terms of evidence of recovery. But then the next question is, how do we support that recovery? And how do we see that recovery and even growth momentum building up in the next coming months and even for the next year? The first is actually to support the economy through, of course, statutory payments that have been lagging behind, for example, to the counties, to the CDF. We have done that. We paid 10 billion to the CDF because the MPs were actually saying they were already having constraints, but of course we were having that constraint because of liquidity stress. And we actually made a commitment to be paying 10 billion every month. So we have already paid 10 billion. The second one was actually the county governments themselves, and we did pay that 1.8 billion. And we actually we only have 1 month lagging, and we are going to be up to date. For us, that is very, very important. And the third payment was actually pension, which we have actually paid close to 21 billion. And we have also 24 billion to go. We will have promised to be up to date. Those are very important because they support the day-to-day expenses and they support the momentum for growth. That for us is very, very important. What we see going forward and what is likely to consolidate that growth, that economic recovery. First, we can see that the nominal exchange rate is declining. It offers some relief to domestic prices and the pass-through effect to domestic prices. That for us is very, very important because low inflation is actually consistent with high growth. And then that is also going to show exactly what is likely to happen with interest rates. For those of you who have been watching the market, you have seen how much we managed to raise in the infrastructure bond. That is a signal that everybody has seen that we are resolving the constraints one by one, and we are going to lock ourselves into a high vibrancy growth. That is why you found the success in terms of the infrastructure board was actually significant and is even reflective of the future, because that's an investment. And in fact, if you open up that infrastructure board, you'll find that the component of foreign direct investment, that is the inflows, are very, very important. And those are the ones that are also pushing the exchange rate to appreciate. It will discover its own level. And once it discovers its own level, we are actually going to see the next price, relative price or price we are going to look at is the interest rate structure. A combination of the inflation coming down, the nominal exchange rate finding its balance is going to ignite actually growth. Strong growth will come. So the momentum for growth is actually very, very important. Don't forget that once the nominal exchange rate is actually predictable because it has resolved itself, interest rates are low and the inflation is coming down. It's a combination of lowering cost of living but raising the expectations for investment, and that is what drives the momentum for growth and the vibrancy of the economy. We are quite optimistic about this because we have analyzed massive data and we have seen what is really happening For us in the future, and that's why we are meeting here, is to package future reforms that are actually going to signal fiscal consolidation for us, and that's the direction we are going to move. Fiscal consolidation will provide resources required, but more importantly, it is actually going to encourage the targeted sectors that we really wanted in the value chain that we wanted to develop and push them further to completion, and that is where vibrancy is going to come from. So we are optimistic. Thank you.